All right, coaches. I'm with my boy, Paul Collodi. It has been a while. Welcome back to the Jersey High School Strength Coaches Podcast, powered by the NHS SCA. If you're new here, welcome. And please go to the nhssca.us and become a member. Get involved. Get involved with the Facebook group. Get involved we've got Family Day coming up. So every state more than likely has a family day in the fall, or if not the fall, probably the winter. And those are free events. And so in New Jersey, we are on Sunday, October 10th. I'm looking at my whiteboard. We're going to go 9 a.m. until 12. And then after 12 o'clock, we'll go and grab some pizza across the street. And I sent out a video this morning to our members and I think some of our expired members. And I also copied it. I think there is a lone member in Delaware.
Yeah.
I can't remember his name, but I sent it to him. So it's going to be a great day. Paul's going to speak. Mark Rosamilia is going to speak. John Torrey, myself. We're going to be talking warm-ups, speed training, training large groups, program design. We're going to have some free discussion. It's going to be a pretty free-flowing event. And I'm looking to get a lot of exchange, a lot of conversations going with coaches. And we did it on a Sunday, Paul, so we can hopefully give some flexibility to our coaches who are also coaching a fall sport. So if you are in soccer, football, what else do we have in the fall? We've got girls lacrosse. Is it girls lacrosse or field hockey?
Field hockey, cross country.
Field hockey, cross country. So if you're running the weight room in any capacity at your high school, you want to get to this event. And also I'd like to see, I know it's their day off. I'd love to see some athletic directors come out to the event to really gain some perspective on the importance and the power of having a qualified high school strength and sport performance coach under their roof as a full-time coach. So that's going to be October 10th. Registration, you go to nhssca.us, click on events, and you'll see each state you could register for free. So that's it, my bro. It has been a while since you and I have done this. I don't even know if we did a podcast all summer.
No, it was crazy. For me, it was almost back to normal as far as, hours and kids coming in. And I know you had a lot going on with the family. I'll tell you what, we did start the summer right though. I'm not sure we did a podcast after we met at the shore.
Yep.
And I almost took you down in the balloon pop contest, but it just didn't happen.
I don't think any of us won. Somebody else beat us.
I know.
Yeah.
Oh, we got gypped. It was like right away the balloon popped. I'm like, yeah, that was fixed.
And it's like I get so competitive once things get into this win-loss thing. I'm not good at losing. So yeah, we met up at Jenkinson's Boardwalk, which is 5 minutes away from where Family Day is going to be. So Family Day will be at my gym, the Underground Strength Gym in Manasquan. My gym is a mile from the beach. So when I sent out our email to the members this morning, I said, feel free to bring family. Your family could take a walk on the beach. They could go eat in Manasquan town. They could go to Jenkinson's Boardwalk, which by mid-October, a lot of things are closed, but it's nice to just take a walk on the boardwalk. That's going to be a beautiful time of year. And so that's 5 minutes away from the gym.
We could have the first ever NHSSCA balloon pop contest. Whole thing up. If we get the thing full, it's the big prize, right? Is that what it is?
I don't know if all those games will be open in October. They usually shut it down by late September, except for like the places you could get food.
Yeah.
But if you want to come and eat, crappy food and destroy your stomach, you can definitely make that trip. Yeah. It's a good, I think it's also going to be a good, it's going to be the middle of the fall. It's going to be it's an opportune time for the coaches to just get some time to, ask questions. Maybe you're frustrated with something and you need to hear somebody else's perspective. It's very refreshing and invigorating. And I think it's important as a coach to be able to have those opportunities. I sometimes think I don't take advantage of these opportunities enough because I got kids, but on Sunday, we're off from sports, except probably my son's baseball, which is now like a year-round sport, of course. Right. So let's talk a little bit about how your training and organization went for the summer. I'll talk about how mine went, and then let's talk about plans for the fall here in New Jersey. you know, we've got kind of COVID restrictions kicked back in. And I think, you know, tomorrow we're going to be podcasting with Toby Jacoby. He's
Yeah.
down south, right?
Yeah.
What state?
South Carolina.
South Carolina. I did see Duke
Oh,
University.
He's in Georgia.
He's in Georgia. Yep. So I knew he was in that southeast area. Duke University just implemented like a mask mandate if you're outdoors, which is interesting. That's North Carolina. So, you know, here we go again with challenges. So talk about how did summer go and when did you start summer training, Paul, in relation to the last day of school? Was it, I think you guys had a week off or something from school?
Well, June 1st was our last day of school, and then we had NatCon. We had National Convention.
Oh, yes.
So that Thursday, I went out. Actually, I was going to go out on Thursday, but Coach McKenna passed away, and we flew out on Friday. Rich Gray was there, and Nick Maruka flew out. We all flew out together. We got there Friday evening, and got to see some great people, as always, at NatCon. And that Monday morning when we got back, we fired it up. And so that was right at the end of June and nonstop, right up until the first week in August. First week in August, I took off. We went on a family vacation. But it was 5 solid weeks. And I'm just looking at my stats right now on my other screen. And as of today, tomorrow's our last official day of summer. We start school on Thursday. I had 3,951 sign-ins into the weight room. So
what do you track that on Google spreadsheet or?
Yeah, I have so I do a Google form.
Yep.
I have that linked to one of those QR codes.
Yes.
So when kids come in, so there's no more touching computer. They walk in, they scan the QR code, and just like the restaurants do with the menu, it takes them right to my registration form on the Google form. They fill it out, and I kept it simple: first name, last name, sport, and what grade they are. And and of course they don't all fill it out.
Right.
They walk by, and I have QR codes all around the gym, so in case we're still using Team Builder on our phones, so in case they forget, they can always say, "Oh yeah," and they can scan it and get stuff done.
Does it show what time they are you looking at what time they check in?
There's a timestamp on there.
You
know, I have some kids who on their way out sign in. You know.
Yes. What's the policy for somebody who's late, Paul? Because I see, you know, you got a real big setup. So let's say what time let's just look at football, the largest team, you know, in every school. What time did football train with you this summer? Was it a set time?
Yeah. So football was, they lifted on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Monday was 8:30, Wednesday was 8:30, and Friday was, I have it right here. So Monday 8:30, Wednesday 8:30, Friday was 7:30 a.m.
The whole freshmen through seniors?
Yeah. So Friday was freshmen through seniors. On Tuesdays and Thursdays at 7:30, we did turf work. So we went out there, they wore their cleats, we ran the hill. So we did footwork, conditioning, and change of direction on the and reaction. More reaction than change of direction. We did some change of direction during our lift. So the football, let's say it started at 8:30, we went till 10. So the first half hour was dedicated to change of direction and footwork. And then the last hour was all lift. So that was Monday, Wednesday, and then some of Friday too.
Change of direction done outside?
No, right now on my turf in here. So we do
got all that space. What? So let's talk a little bit about change of direction. Who's kind of like a favorite go-to coach that you learn from in that area?
There's a bunch. I look at I was looking at Joey Burgles a lot this summer as far as what he was doing down in Texas.
Yep.
Lee Taft is one guy I always look for because he always works in small spaces. If you look, he's doing stuff in his garage.
Yeah.
So everything's in a short space. And, you know, when we're talking about 50, 60 football players, I break the turf up pretty well. And when we get the family down, I'm going to show you how I use my plates as low boxes when we do our reactive stuff. And,
okay.
I can fit, 35 guys on my turf at once and work off the whistle, be in the front of the turf long ways and take them through a 15-second reactive drill. They're out, next 30 guys are in.
That's good.
I'll bring some videos with that as well, but I want the coaches to feel what it feels like and how we do it. And then the kids, that was the best feedback I got from the kids, not only from football this summer, but from the spring when we did it a little bit, was the basketball guys came in and said, I really love that we did that at the beginning of practice. It almost felt like I was more energized. I'm like, all right, so this is something we're going to keep.
How do you know that? Did you do a survey of the kid? Did you survey the kids? Just listening?
When we're warming up and, if we're doing stuff, we're spread out, but we talk. I talk about, hey, how was the last lift? How has it been? I like to get feedback from the kids, and for the most part, they're pretty honest about what's going on. They're not going to hold back. And one of the basketball players said, hey, listen, we love that. And, if we have that in the workout this year, I think we're going to get a lot more kids in the weight room. I said, all right, we're going to do it.
It's interesting to hear that. You'll even hear this at not just the high school level, but college and NFL, is that like the athletes are almost like against strength work. They want to do what they view as speed work. When we know, even Cal Dietz says, if you want to improve an athlete's agility, you have to include slow eccentrics, or iso holds, or, drop squats where they drop fast and then hold position. It was because that is change of direction work right there. You're strengthening the muscles, but you got to speak their language. Kids don't know what they don't know. They certainly don't know what we know. And so if you incorporate hurdles and ladders and things that may not traditionally be like the ladders are okay for, like, all right, I got to teach an athlete how to work maybe through tight space, but doesn't have this tremendous carryover to sport. They believe in it. And so it's probably a good idea to incorporate those things. And it's cool that you're able to do it in your weight room, but you have the turf, you have that space for movement. Now, let me ask you another question, Paul. The week that you went away, did the sport teams get off, or were they allowed to come in and use the weight room without you being there? Off. Okay. Did you ever allow teams to go in, or like, I'm shocked that the football coaches weren't like, hey, we got to lift. They had to go in with me. Did that ever happen?
He actually gives them off from football too. So we practice all summer. We do Tuesday, Thursday practices in the evening for install, and it's run just like a practice. So while other schools are doing 7-on-7 and just running routes, our linemen are going through their calls. They're up on the line. They're working on their footwork, just like a regular practice. So that week before fall season started is when I went away. Our football coach gives them off from football, and we shut the weight room down. And
I like that.
Yeah.
And I was wanted to say that. So I went away the last week of July. Our football players came in, utilized the weight room, and I've been very OCD, and we clean up, put things away. But it was interesting that without me being there, they didn't clean. The benches were covered in sweat and weren't wiped down. The plates didn't get returned. And so I look at it two ways, right? I look at it, where did I not teach them? Where did I fail? And then why are they not doing something? And I think we're also like, you look at like Jocko is a popular guy with leadership stuff, talks about, hey man, keep putting the blame on yourself. I think that could get overextended when eventually you got to like say to the people, whether it's athletes or if you are in the private sector training, you have coaches working for you. Eventually people got to take responsibility for their actions as well. And so it's, all these little nuances, I think, are important details that have a carryover to performance. Looking at, when I'm not around, what does technique look like? What does effort look like? What does the cleanliness and organization look like?
One of the things that we talked about when we were building this was I wanted to get the logo on the plates and on the dumbbells. And that was a debate between, the administration. And my biggest thing was for pride. And, I know some people bust my chops on this, but I like to have the HCs. I tell you, the HCs have to be up.
Logo up.
Every single rack. So now when the kids are done, not only are they putting the plates back, but, they know that there's 2 plates on every pin, on every rack, and the logo has to be up on the dumbbells, on the plates. And I can tell when I have a rookie group in here, because I'll come in either the next day and I didn't maybe pay attention to it, and there'll be some turn sideways. And hey, Zach, here's the cool thing. When the first group comes in, if I don't pay attention to it, I see kids walking around and turning them up before we even start.
Fixing it. Yes. They do that, at the college level, logo up, because details make massive differences and are truly the difference maker between good and great. And if you don't pay attention to those details, it has a negative carryover to other areas. And I think people who don't feel that's important, they probably have a little bit of laziness in them, or they don't like to pay attention to detail. But those details do count. So like at the college, especially at the college level, but I know it's like this at a lot of the high schools. If you're coming in with a shirt, you should be wearing a school shirt, not, so if you're training at my high school, you shouldn't be wearing the Underground Strength Gym shirt or somebody else's shirt. You should be taking pride in your own school. Those things do matter, because, you mentioned that quote by Martin Rooney: don't be the best guy on the team, be the best guy for the team. And the best teams are united. They have a lot of we, they're not worried about me. I mean, I don't want to like jump into the whole politics thing, but I often say, you and I could see, being in central North Jersey, you could see this New York City skyline. So after 9/11 happened, I always felt like we as a country were so close and united, especially in this New Jersey, New York area. And now it's different. We're not. It's a lot about me. And, that is like self-destructive. You can't succeed that way. And I look back to when I was a high school kid, and I realized I was also didn't really connect with my team. But now, we didn't do much together. Now schools do a lot of things together, and there's all these opportunities to build that pride. And so I agree with you that getting the logos and those little things make a big difference. Getting kids to take pride in what they are part of is something huge. I said a lot to the kids: we, not me, we, not me.
We had that wristband made.
Yes.
The we is greater than me. And we talked about with the freshman football today. And I said, what does that mean to you? I showed them, and they've seen it. And I got some good answers, but it was all just based on the weight room or the football field. I said, what about if you go home and your parents ask you to, empty the dishwasher and you didn't do it? How's that going to affect your whole family? Now maybe you have to get to practice, and your parents now are taking stuff out of the dishwasher, and you could be late for practice. That affects everybody. Little things like that. And I tell them, this is hard to think about, and it doesn't have to be so serious, but those are real life lessons that you have to pay attention to. And that is the we. The we is your family. The we is your teammates, your teachers, your school community, the community at large. It's not just the guys that you're putting the helmet on, or the holding the stick with.
That's true community. Now you mentioned the freshmen. This is in like 2 months, I'll have been at my high school 2 years. This was my first year being able to work with freshmen in the summer, because my first year I started October 30th. Last year, schools were closed with COVID. This year I was able to train freshmen football. And that was my most enjoyable part of working with them, was teaching them these bigger factors that impact them and impact the family. And so I would say to them, the night before practice, you need to lay out your clothing. You need to get your water jug ready, fill it all up with ice and water. You need to communicate with your parents or whoever you live with for your transportation, so you don't, spring it up on them 5 minutes before you got to leave, and they, are just waking up, or they're about to go on an office call or something like that. So I really enjoyed teaching them about the organization and working together, and man, they bought into it. And our training was crazy simple. So what I would do was a lot of just sets of 5, and it was like single dumbbell work, body weight work, and a lot of farmer walks and pull aparts. And then before I was away last week for Cooperstown for my son. The week before, I taught them how to trap bar deadlift. and basically everybody deadlifted a plate. And if you weren't ready for that, you just did the goblet squat. And then I said, don't add weight. Next week, we could add 5 or 10 pounds. But I go, we got 4 more years of this. I mean, if you added just 5 pounds a week, that's like 405 by the end of this next summer. There's no rush. But we just did lots of the 5s. So it would be something like you're going to goblet squat for 5, squat jump for 5, dumbbell bench for 5. Okay, that would be one group. I would go bigs and skills. Then the skills might be something like farmer walk, push up, pull apart, 5 reps of everything. Pull apart would just be 10s. But I found that the numbers were, if I did sets of 10, we didn't have enough equipment, and now you're waiting twice as long. So I said, I'm just going to do 5s, almost like, cluster work, where they would end up doing like 8 sets of 5 by the time I switched them over. And you could just see the strength and the gains coming from good technique. And the exercises were really basic. I said squat, farmer walk. We did a push press or a clean and press, curls, push up, squat jump, forward, reverse, lateral, lunge, pull aparts, and all basic stuff. And one time I can't remember why the school and the bubble was shut down. So what I did was we organized training across the street. I remember I reached out to you. We went to the middle school, to their field. Yeah. So we did like a lap, just ran a lap. Even big guys, I said to myself, like, we get so caught up on, oh, it's a big guy. They shouldn't have to run a quarter mile. Like, a quarter mile is nothing, right? In high school, I tell them, look, you should be able to run a quarter mile. And if the zombies come, you have to run a quarter mile, right? You got to be able to run. And I told them the zombies are coming. They don't even know what I'm talking about, though. Then they did dodgeball. We did tug of war, and we did, what's the third game? I can't even remember, but I let them come up with the rules. So if you were hitting dodgeball, I let them come up with the rules. Some of them had push-ups, squat jumps. Others said you run a lap and then you're out. So they came up with different ways, but it was cool doing the tug of war and seeing, some of the kids are like 110, 115 pounds, but seeing them, like, we would do a 2-on-2 tug of war, seeing them get hyped up when they win. And, you and I and any coach who's been around for a while, you see a 115-pound kid, that in the long run, that kid might be 165 in 3 more years, 185. Who knows? I mean, I've trained kids that went from 85 to 185 in a matter of 5 years. They start in like late 7th grade, and they just, end up gaining, 2 pounds a month, basically, 1.5 pounds every month. And it doesn't sound like much, but an 85-pound kid who becomes 185, that's insane. And so I had a lot of fun working with the freshmen, and I'm excited to see them progress. And I also told them, because our basketball coach came in all the time, so it would be freshman football with some basketball and hockey players. And I said, guys, your first 2 years, you got to do multiple sports. So you got our basketball coach here. We got, I told him, you got to do at least 2 sports, period, to be an athlete. And so I had my most fun was training the freshmen. And then I'm going to flip it, and kind of like, I like to be very transparent with our coaches listening. The most frustrating part for me this summer was that other coaches didn't really push the training. They just kind of put it out there, and hey, it is what it is. It's voluntary, yada, yada. But the summer is the most opportune time. It's a lot of free time. It's just, it's just free time, and so we did not have good numbers with a lot of teams, or they were good for 2 weeks and then completely disappeared. And to me, I feel like the sport coach has a higher influence than us as the strength coach. That's just the truth, because ultimately the sport coach has control of your playing time. And I remember speaking to Grandinetti at Wall, and he is the football coach, but also their weight room coach, their strength coach. And he said to me, he goes, I'm always evaluating. And so when you have the sport coach who's also the strength coach, they are afraid to not show up, because the attendance through his eyes is always on you. You know what I mean? All the time. So I think when a sport coach doesn't say, this is what we do, this is when we do it, even though they can't technically make it mandatory, they can put a high placement of effort on it and say, this is an important thing for us to do. And I'll be checking in to see who shows up. And it might be different. I'm interested to see what Toby talks about down south. It seems like down south, schools run their strength and conditioning during the day as a phys ed block, whereas in this Northeast area, it's an after school activity where, I'm not sure what's the best thing. I think you got to pick one thing and go all in with it.
I think it's the culture down there. That's what's accepted, that, from district to district, they understand that, all right, phys ed, this is what it's going to be. Up here, phys ed is so inclusive for everybody.
Correct.
If we just said, hey, it's just going to be an athlete group, I think the communities would go crazy.
That's right. They get all worked up over like, oh, this has got to be for everybody.
Yeah.
Listen, even speaking from an administration standpoint, being an administrator is not for everybody. Some people don't want that. Just like some kids don't want to go through a intense, I rewrote the curriculum and I purposely did not call it strength and conditioning, called it introduction to fitness, then called it advanced health and personalized wellness, and then, individualized, personal fitness training. I made it these kind of like general words because the Board of Ed votes on that. And if it said strength and conditioning, they'd say, well, look, it's not for everybody. We can't do that. And that's kind of all around, right, the world in a sense where things just can't be for everybody, because now we can't really elevate to a certain standard. And I think to like my experiences at the Division I level, every 2 weeks, a kid was leaving on his own, either transferring or quitting. And it was pretty interesting to me in the beginning how the coaches were unfazed by it. Here goes another one. He's transferring out because he's not starting or he doesn't like it anymore, doesn't want to work hard anymore. They've got 3, 4, 5 other guys ready to jump in on the lineup. But it was just interesting to me that it wasn't like an emotional thing. They weren't like, oh my God, Paul Collodi is, leaving the wrestling team and da-da-da. It was just like, all right, next. And so I don't know if I'll ever be able to shut off my feelings that way, because I'm pretty emotionally driven and always fired up. And so that's a I'd say a downside a little bit to my coaching, is that, I'm always fired up by things and I genuinely care and want to get involved. And sometimes people don't really want to be involved on that kind of level. They don't want to be all in. So it's a tricky place to be for me. So what about you? What was like a challenge for you this summer, Paul?
Well, challenges we're getting the word out and the schedule to everybody, initially, once we first started, because the website was so COVID driven and everything else that I actually had to make my own Google Classroom page. It was my first time doing something like that, and I put it up and I was able to put the schedule and everything on there and just getting everybody back into it. And after the first week, I realized that everybody was like, it was almost like a dam break, and everybody wanted to come in. And, my numbers weren't as good as they've been in the past as far as the summertime, but coming off of COVID's a whole year,
right.
I thought it was pretty darn good, as far as the kids coming back in here. The coaches were pretty excited about what we were doing. We had some kids drop some of the sports that they play, whether it be to concentrate on a different sport full time or whatever. And, Coach Ransone, our football coach, said it best one day, because he's my assistant in the summertime. He said, hey, we're going to coach the kids who want to be coached. If they decide that they don't want to be a part of what we're doing, then, hey, it's no, I'm not going to hold it against them, but I'm not going to worry. Like you said, it's not shutting your emotions off. It's just saying, okay, well, that's something that they don't want to do anymore. I'm okay with that. They've made that decision. I'm going to coach the kids who we have who want to be here. So let's with it.
So he becomes an assistant strength coach in the summer.
Yeah.
As well as coaching football as the head guy.
Yeah.
Why? Because you have so many kids coming in at once.
In the summertime is all over the place. So, on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I'll be out on the turf, and we'll have winter athletes in here lifting. So we'll have those winter athletes at 8:30 in the morning, 9:30 in the morning, 10:30 in the morning. Good, good times for parents to drop kids off. And then I have the turf groups going off. This is the first year that we didn't do that. We worked together. But going back into next year, I think that's what we'll do again, is we'll have our winter groups early, on Tuesdays and Thursdays, while I'm out on the turf. And this way it gives them some prime time as well.
We now that you mentioned schedule, the initial schedule for me was going to be two groups, 7:30 a.m. and 8:30 a.m. And so I was going to have football at 7:30, and then I think I was going to get like freshmen at 8:30 along with other sports, and it was going to be like a mix of like hockey, basketball, football. So girls basketball showed up for 2 weeks. Same thing with girls soccer. Then disappeared. Disappeared. Wrestling was very low numbers. And then what happened was our football numbers were so crowded that we decided, hey, how about this? Let's go 7 a.m. to what did we do? 7 a.m. to 7:45 a.m. one football group. Okay, I think that was going to be freshman and JV, or no, that was going to be varsity. The varsity team and returning starters was 7 a.m. to 7:45. So kids who drive and kids who are starters.
Yeah.
Then the remainder of the team, 7:45 to 8:30. And then I was going to have an 8:30 to 9:30 group, which was going to be my mix of kids.
Mm-hmm.
And so what happened was 7 a.m. was good. Go to 7:45. Then that 7:45 group was doing some football skill work. They'd end up coming up late. 7:45 creeped into 7:50, 8 a.m. Then a kid would show up at 8:15, and they were getting all held up with skill work. And we tried to get the training done before kids' parents left for work, or we live near the beach, so kids are working at the beach or have other summer jobs. So we tried to get it done in the morning. And so I think, what I'm going to do this summer, if I'm going to restructure it, would be football groups, 7 a.m. and 7:45. And then 8:30 is going to be open for the team. But in August, I'm not going to open it up for teams unless you're a fall sport, because wrestling would get one kid. Hockey was getting one kid. Basketball was getting one kid. I was like, dude, this is horrible. A team with 30 kids is getting one. That's, what kind of percent is that? 0.033. That's horrible. So, and also boys soccer just started training with me. Girls soccer wanted to come back. And so I said to the coaches with honesty, I said, listen, I cannot give you priority if you only want to train in season, because now we're piling work on top of their sport work, and they're going to be sore. It's going to inhibit their performance. They're going to actually dislike the training and think it's something bad. I go, if we just train once a week in the off season, I'm building them. If I could get them to squat, carry, get some benching, rowing in, some jumps and some quick hill sprints, we can still make progress once a week, believe it or not, But if you don't show up for 7-8 months, and now you want to do it a month before the season, 2 weeks before the season, you're also telling the kids it's not important until you play, which during the season, the most important thing is the sport, right? Keep the main thing, the main thing. And so I communicated that with the coaches, and I said, listen, your schedule won't be exactly what you want it to be. I'm working with the team that shows up year round first. Mm-hmm. And then on those other days, you have an opportunity to train if you don't have games. Yeah. And so I've learned that I'm going to make the schedule. I used to have a Google sheet and gave some flexibility to the coaches. But now I've learned that by trying to help everybody, I'm helping nobody. And so I'm getting more strict and getting a little bit more regimented. And in that process, some people won't like me, but ultimately I'm doing what's best for the kids. Absolutely. Because what's best for the kids is to train year round, year after year, which really, to have somebody train once a week is not a difficult it's not asking a lot, like I'm 46, I'll be 46 in a few months. I haven't stopped training since 1989. Right. And I say, right, Paul, like I'm assuming you and I are slightly busier than a kid. We have kids, full-time work, all these other things. So if we could do it, a kid can get it in once a week. So that's how I'm looking at those things. And I'm excited to hear how Toby, what they do in, you said he's in Georgia.
Georgia, yeah.
He's in a private school, correct?
Yep.
So
Strong
there's
Rock Christian School.
what's it called?
Strong Rock Christian School. He's got a great setup down there.
Oh yeah.
He's really entrenched himself into the phys ed department, and he talks the talk and walks the walk.
Cool.
He does a great job down there. Plus, he makes killer ribs. I can tell you that.
Damn, I'm excited also to hear because they were getting some weight room renovations done in the summer, which is not really, when you're training football down in, the South, football is, like king down there. Same thing with Texas.
He's got 2 weight rooms, so maybe it was one of them out of the 2.
That's crazy. 2 weight rooms. I'll be honest, like our weight room is so outdated and in need of so many upgrades. Man, it's tricky. There's as a strength coach, just like a head sport coach, I spoke to a buddy of mine who just took a new wrestling position. He's like, I did not realize how much work I was going to do outside of coaching. He's like, I'm full all year, like promoting the program, raising money. He's like, I didn't even know, because now they got to raise money for an assistant coach and, food on the road and all these things. It's a lot. And so, that being said, I know in the professional development for our members for NHS SCA, you log in, there's I believe it says, I don't know if it says continuing education or professional development, but there's articles and interviews on coaches of how they raised money to rebuild weight rooms and upgrade facilities. So I'm going to look in, that's going to be my homework this week, to look in and sign in.
Good one is he's up in Traverse City, Central. His name is Doug Glee. He's in the upper part of Michigan.
Okay.
He does a great job as far as fundraising and how he raises his money. I know. I forgot who else just did a good article on that. I have to look back in it, but I know Doug's done several, and he's a good guy to contact as well.
I'm going to write his name down. What's Doug's last name?
Glee, G-L-E.
And he's in Michigan.
Yeah, Traverse City Central.
Great. So basically, for those of you listening, if you're not a member of the NHS SCA, become a member, sign in. There's a lot of articles and videos and just professional development for us. I think some of the coaches, I've said it before, they limit themselves to being in the Facebook group. It's deeper than that. So we're going to shut it down here, Paul, because tomorrow night we're back on with Toby. And so I'm not sure what episode this is, but I'll get it out for everybody listening in New Jersey. And if you want to come from New York, Philly is like 70 miles. We are October 10th, Family Day, Underground Strength Gym of Manasquan. You register by hitting the events link at nhssca.us. And also that's where you can become a member. And members are also college students, not just full-time high school strength coaches. Some members are in the private sector. So lot of unique angles we've got coaches coming from. So looking forward to Family Day.
And you said it before, there's nothing better than October at the Jersey Shore. I know,
Beautiful weather.
Oh my God. So, if this is something you can do and you can swing a hotel down by the beach, I know you have a few down there that you can, and you get in on Saturday and you spend the whole day Saturday, check in tonight, get a good dinner on the beach, great seafood, wake up in the morning. It's only 4 hours away from your honey or your husband, and they can go to the beach and, rent a bike and you can make a weekend out of it and get some good camaraderie. And again, if you're 2 hours away, I think this is a great opportunity to get involved in what we do. Yep.
It's free. And so, what else? It's so expensive. It's free.
Yeah.
So looking forward to that. And Paul, where can they follow you, my man?
The best way to follow me is on my Instagram at Red Devil Strength.
Good. On Instagram for me is Z Evanesh, Zevenesh. Also Underground Strength Gym. And my YouTube is also Z Evanesh. So people ask me kind of like, what's the difference? I don't, sometimes I post photos on our high school strength coach page, strength and conditioning page. But what I do at my private facility is what goes on my main social media. It's so kind of crazy at my high school with the large numbers. I usually am not recording videos, but if people request it, I will do more of it. So on for the high school, it's Mid-South, MIDD South SC for strength conditioning. So that's it, guys. Make sure you share this with a friend. It's on YouTube. It's on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, you name it. Share with a friend, and please leave us a 5-star review. Paul, we didn't talk about food and movies.
We're going to get into that tomorrow night. Get your notebooks ready for Toby. I'll tell you what.
I want to say this. I'll say it, close it out with this. I had a great time with my son. My wife also went up to Cooperstown. We stayed about 25 minutes away from Cooperstown. I think it was near, it was called Dreams Park, okay, which was closed. But that area was very rural, farm, beautiful. And so when we were in Cooperstown downtown, they had a store called Baseballism, and they're selling shirts, and the shirts say like Wild Thing. And another one was like Joe Boo. You remember the guy who was like, into the voodoo. So my son had never seen it. I forgot that Major League was from 1989. So Friday night, we had a movie night at home, my wife and my 2 kids, and we watched Major League, and my kids were laughing so hard. And I forget the guy's name who was into the voodoo. Do you remember his name?
That was Serrano.
Serrano, yeah, dude. It was so funny, like, the rituals of everybody, and then watching the pitcher putting like snot on the ball, or like Crisco, all these things. I tried to explain to my son. I was like, dude, see, you never got to watch these movies. This is baseball right here. Like kind of the guys who love it and all the craziness. And being in Cooperstown, I have such a different respect towards the sport. My son loves it. We had a lot of rain on a day. Things got delayed. He had a game that was going to start at 1:20 a.m. The ump got there at 2 a.m. So we played, it started at 2:06, went till 3:45 a.m. By the time I got to my hotel and went to bed, it was 4:30. Woke up at 8:30. Then they had a game at 12 noon. That night, they had a game at midnight. But I was saying to myself, you know what? He's young. He could do it. They had so much fun. They bunked together, doing all their crazy things together. I'm really glad that my son got to experience that. And my advice to the seniors in football today during our last lift is I said, guys, I've been very hard on you all year, all summer. I'm tough on you, but don't forget to have fun out there. Let it fly. Have fun. And that'll allow you to play at your best. So I try to balance as I get very tough on them. I give them a little I give them, I show them that I love them and give them some like fatherly advice. And kids that I'm tough on, I find a way to compliment and tell them, you're getting on my good side. I like what I see. You're getting strong. I'm starting to like you a lot, And so it's cool, the relationship. So, man, that's it, brother. Let's shut it down. I'm running my gym at 4:00, so I'm out of here in an hour, and I'll talk to you tomorrow with Toby Jacoby. So, guys, that's it. New Jersey Strength Coaches Podcast, powered by the NHS SCA. Become a member. We'll see you soon. Paul, see you, brother.